With the current state of the PC market, buying a pre-built gaming PC has ironically become a more effective way to get into PC gaming. However, there's no shortage of scams when it comes to pre-built systems, so today I'll be showing you some good and bad pre-builts, so you know what to look out for if you're hunting for a new computer. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a lot of stellar deals at lower price ranges such as $600 as often, so you will be paying slightly more in general, but really it's not as bad as trying to build a system with identical specs. It's also worth mentioning that this video will probably be showing more bad than good pre-builts, as there's usually less great options, especially now. So the only half-decent pre-built I could find during the recording of this video is this HP Pavilion gaming desktop. Again, there used to be much more variety a few months ago, but even pre-built options are getting a bit dry. This is still what I think is an acceptable example of a good gaming PC. While upgradability isn't great, there's nothing particularly special about this config. For the price, the specs are solid and this should be able to deliver a quality gaming experience. A 1660 Super would have been nice to see, but the 1650 Super is still a solid graphics card. The Ryzen 5 3600 is a great CPU and will pair nicely with the GPU. There is only 8 gigs of RAM, but for a lot of these pre-builds, that's just how it is. What is a bit underwhelming though is that there's only a smaller 256GB SSD. Most other systems will come equipped with a bigger drive or another drive entirely. A 1TB hard drive is an easy and inexpensive upgrade, however, so it's not ideal to have to do this, but also not the end of the world. I'd recommend upgrading to 16 gigs of RAM and throw in another SSD or hard drive, but as is, this system should be able to run most games without an issue. The next system is a bit interesting. The Lenovo Idea Center 5 AMD desktop tower or any other similar system might be something you should consider. This PC has a Ryzen 3 4300G, which is one of AMD's OEM APUs. It has 6 Vega graphics cores, so even though you won't be running games like Cyberpunk, this can play some games at lower settings, and once prices on graphics cards return to normal, you could throw in something like a 1660 Super. I'm not certain on GPU compatibility, but you would be limited due to the weaker power supply. If you play fewer demanding titles, or maybe you can find a used graphics card, a PC like this may be a good option. Now I'm going to show you some systems that are plenty capable, but not the best with pricing. First up is the CyberPower PC Gamer Extreme VR Gaming PC. As the title suggests, this is very much a gaming PC, and really this isn't wrong. The 10th gen i5-10400F offers decent performance, and it should pair nicely with the 1660 Super and its 6 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM. However, those two attributes are the only two notable ones. This system only has 8 gigs of memory, which usually I wouldn't complain about, but at this price, this is not great. Even though the SSD is NVMe, that 500 gigs of storage is going to fill up rather quickly. It's more storage than the HP system, but storage definitely isn't a highlight here. The price also is not a high point. It was $949 on Amazon previously, but the price went up since then. This system isn't a good deal at $949, let alone $1,100+, and systems like these you should avoid. Cable management from afar looks decent, but that doesn't make up for that single stick of memory, mediocre storage, and overall poor value. On a good day when prices aren't jacked, you could build a system with the Ryzen 5 1600AF or a Ryzen 3 3100, 16 gigs of RAM, plenty of storage, and a 1660 Super for closer to $600. I'm fully aware of how supply and demand works, but there are still better pre-built options out there, even with the rough market. During the recording of this video, you could actually get that HP desktop I showed earlier with the 3060 for a little under $900. That's not a generally amazing deal still, but compared to this offering from CyberPower, you should not be paying that much for those specs. The same goes for this ABS system on Newegg. Didn't I just say a second ago that you could get a PC with a 3060 below $900? Well, this does have a 3060, but the price still isn't right. The specs are great, but I'd keep looking if you're wanting to spend this much. I've looked at some more expensive pre-builts, but let's go lower in pricing. These are computers that you should avoid at all costs. If someone that was shopping for a PC wasn't very tech savvy, I'd be inclined to say that they'd be more likely to click on an RGB mess of a computer than a less flashy system. People like cool, colorful lights, and that's how scammers take advantage of you. To an untrained eye, this PC looks like a great deal, right? It has an i5 CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 1TB hard drive. The graphics card, however, starts to show the major ripoff this computer really is. The GTX 650 was an entry-level budget graphics card that was released almost 9 years ago. The CPU is indeed an i5, but an older one at that. This Amazon listing doesn't go into much detail as to what i5 is actually in here, but it's definitely a very early model. A lot of other YouTubers such as Techie City and All Stocks Hardware have done videos on systems like these. Those configs even had first gen i5s, which if you must know are dual core hyper-threaded chips, which are not the best for gaming. Even if the CPU in here is a first gen chip, that 650 isn't going anywhere special with that 1 gig of GDDR5 memory. There's also no SSD, so this won't even seem to feel like a fast computer. But hey, just pay a little more and you can get an SSD, an i5-2500, and a GTX 750. Honestly, this isn't a horrible mix of parts, but the price is still there to rip you off. The quality of the internal components could also be questionable. A majority, if not all of the reviewers have reported various issues with these systems, so if you happen to stumble across a PC that's using DDR3 memory and has an annual graphics card, stay away. Honestly, you could probably get the same if not better gaming performance with a PC with the Ryzen APU, such as the Idea Center I covered earlier. Also avoid PCs like this. The Ryzen 5 3600 is indeed a great CPU for gaming, but why in the world is it being paired with a GT 730? Systems like these really don't need to exist, but an argument of, well, not all people need a gaming PC could be made, but this is being advertised as a gaming PC. This would be a half-decent deal if there was more RAM and storage, but this just isn't it. This one available at Best Buy is even worse with a GT 710. So if you're looking for a pre-built PC, hopefully this video helps you find a decent system and avoid getting ripped off. Don't forget to leave a like and make sure you're subscribed and have notifications enabled for more quality tech videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, let me know down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to get back to you. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you later.